Please let me know if you can see it before I go on.
We can see it.
Great. Cool. So, yeah, as Ashley said, today we're going to talk about a better together story between Defender for Cloud and Microsoft Sentinel. And we're going to have a focus on SOAR, which is security orchestration, automation, and response. I'm Liana, and I work on the Microsoft Defender for Cloud product as a program manager. And I'm here alongside my teammate Julio, who also works on Defender for Cloud. And then we've also got Benji, who's focused on Microsoft Sentinel. So the agenda for today is we're going to have a very quick intro into Defender for Cloud and then Sentinel, and then we're going to start talking about the new AMA agent that we have versus the log analytics agent. And specifically, we're going to talk about that because the AMA agent has actually gone into public preview for Defender for Cloud. So it's actually been in GA for a while, but it's now publicly available for Defender for Cloud. So we're going to go into that and how we can send data from how we can use it to get data for Defender for Cloud and then get it into Sentinel. And then afterwards, we're going to talk about how you can then investigate alerts in Sentinel and then how you can enrich alerts using a logic app that Julio created. So we're going to have demos for all of these things. But before we get into any of that, let's talk about what is Microsoft Defender for Cloud very briefly for anyone who is not so familiar with it. So Defender for Cloud is a cloud-native application protection across your clouds and on-premises environments. So using Defender for Cloud, you can now actually unify your DevOps security management directly with Microsoft Defender for Cloud. So this was the announcement that was made at Ignite a couple of weeks ago, so that now you can actually get visibility of any DevOps security misconfigurations, like for example, exposed secrets, and you can see these from within Defender for Cloud. So for your security teams, but you can actually also see these within your DevOps environments, such as your GitHub and Azure DevOps for your dev teams. And then you can respond to these as necessary. And then the next aspect that is involved in Defender for Cloud is the hardening your security posture. Basically, you can do this by seeing what recommendations and security misconfigurations that Defender for Cloud has found on your resources, and these are resources found on your cloud and on-prem environments. And then you can determine how hardened these environments are by basically using Secure Score. But you can also see possible attack paths and then you can proactively secure these these environments so that you can lower your risk of being attacked through the new contextual CSPM capability also announced a couple of weeks ago. And then if you use compliance regulations, you can actually track these also on Defender for Cloud. And as part of the cloud workload protection side, you can see what vulnerabilities are found in these environments and then get guidance on how to fix these. But very crucially, you can also proactively be made aware of any threats in your environments. And this is actually through our threat detection capabilities, which sends these alerts, which sends you alerts for any suspicious activities that may have gone on. And you're then able to actually assess these alerts and you can respond to them as needed. And you can start an investigation to figure out what happened in Defender for Cloud. But you can actually also get these alerts sent over into Microsoft Sentinel so you can further your investigation from there. And I'll show you how you can do the integration between Defender for Cloud and Sentinel. And then Benji will actually show you how you can continue your investigation about the alerts in Sentinel itself. Okay, so kind of the last sort of overview slide that I wanted to go over were what exactly is protected using Defender for Cloud in terms of the resources that we have that are protected. So, and this is a huge, we have this huge focus now on protecting not just your Azure resources. You can, of course, protect these. You can protect your servers, your databases, your containers, storage, and so on that are based in Azure. But now you can also protect resources such as your EKS, EC2 in AWS, but also in GCP, so like your GKE clusters, and then your on-premises workloads as well. So these are from the actual resource side of things that we have in Defender for Cloud. So that was a quick intro into Defender for Cloud. Now I'm going to hand it over to Benji, who's actually going to talk about Microsoft Sentinel.
Yeah, thank you, Liana. Just quickly, what is actually Microsoft Sentinel? So Microsoft Sentinel is cloud-native CM solution, but also it is a SOAR solution that is powered by AI and automation. So actually, what is so famous about Microsoft Sentinel is that it is harnessing the scale of the cloud and it doesn't require any of your infrastructure from the on-prem so that you need to deploy any virtual machines or anything to have it enabled. You just need your Azure Log Analytics workspace and you are ready to enable Microsoft Sentinel on top of it. Thanks to its AI and machine learning that is integrated inside of the Microsoft Sentinel, it is providing detection of evolving threats. It is expediting incident response using the automation, and that is something that we'll be actually showing, but also getting ahead of attackers by doing proactive huntings. So if we will look at what are like main features of Microsoft Sentinel, and how we are dividing it. First, we have that, let's say, necessary thing that we have to collect the data that we'll be working on. And also we need to have the visibility of that data. And that is the data collection methodology inside of the Microsoft Sentinel, plus workbooks where we can see all that visibility. Once when we have that data, we need to create some of the detection mechanisms, and we are utilizing analytic rules inside of the Microsoft Sentinel to create those detections. But also we can utilize hunting, threat hunting, and notebooks to hunt through some of the indicators inside of our data that we collected. Plus, Microsoft Sentinel has option to ingest threat intelligence from various services inside of the Microsoft Sentinel so that we can compare those threat intelligence and indicators with the data that we have inside of our environment. So once when we actually detect something inside of our environment, Microsoft Sentinel is also providing you that SOAR capability, so investigation of the incidents and the response using the automation, and that is actually something that we'll be showcasing later on. Something that we are really proud to showcase is also that we are from this year inside of Microsoft Gartner Magic Quadrant as a leader with the best ability to execute. This is really pushing ours further to develop Microsoft Sentinel and showing that we are on the right path. And this is amazing results for a product that is less than 2 years in GA. Back to you, Liana.
Great. Thank you so much, Benji. Cool. So now that we've gone over an intro into Defender for Cloud and Sentinel, and now I'm going to start talking about the Azure Monitor Agent and how we can use that in both Defender for Cloud and also in Sentinel. So why are we talking about this new Azure Monitor Agent in this presentation? Well, basically, up to this point, we used to have the Log Analytics agent, and we still have it, which basically helps to which actually gathers data about your resources, specifically data about your virtual machines. And this data is then used by Defender for Cloud and Sentinel as well. Now, the main thing is that the Log Analytics agent will actually be officially retired in 2024, and instead it will be replaced by this new agent called AMA. AMA standing for Azure Monitor Agent. So as I mentioned at the start, AMA has been in GA all up for I think over a year, but the news is that it previously wasn't available on Defender for Cloud, but now since the summertime, it's actually publicly available. It's in public preview on Microsoft Defender for Cloud. So now we can integrate it in Defender for Cloud and then also afterwards send the data over into Sentinel in a seamless way. So what are some of the benefits of switching over to using AMA? mainly it's that AMA actually allows for granular data collection. So you can now select which types of data you want to be collected from your virtual machines, and then you can decide where it should be stored. So you can select multiple locations where to store the data. Like, for example, you can select to store it in one log analytics workspace, or you can select to store that data about that virtual machine in multiple log analytics workspaces. And then there is also a cost saving element as well, due to the granularity, because you're able to specify exactly what type of data you want. So the granularity of that data that is ingested actually leads to cost savings. So you actually get 500 megabytes of data ingestion, which is included in this per day. So that is basically, that leads to cost savings using the Azure Monitor agent. And then when we're talking about how you can actually configure this data, well, it's through these things called DCORs, which stands for Data Collection Rules. So DCORs are how you can configure which data needs to be saved and where. So you can define which resources you want to target. Like, for example, if you have a specific virtual machine that you want to get specific types of data to be collected, and the kinds of data that we can collect. So in Sentinel, we have these data types associated with these data collection rules, which are all security events, common, minimal, and then you can actually even specify a custom query using the XPath language, which is a very powerful way to filter for whatever kind of data that you want, and then get that sent over into the log analytics workspace that is associated with both your Microsoft Defender for Cloud, but also your Sentinel as well. And I will show you this now in a demo. But just before I go into the demo, I just wanted to let you know about some of the resources that we have about how you can transition to AMA to give you more guidance on this. So we actually have a PowerShell script for removing the log analytics agent at scale, and it's found in our GitHub. And that's actually, maybe if somebody from the team could actually just paste that link, that's one of the ones that I shared earlier. So you can use that PowerShell script for removing the log analytics agent at scale. And then we also have this workbook in that's found in Sentinel, which helps you to compare how you're doing in terms of which virtual machines have the log analytics agent versus which ones have the new AMA, the new Azure Monitor agent. And this workbook is called the AMA Migration Tracker. Cool. So now I want to actually just show you this as a demo. So I am just going to go into it. Great. So the first thing that I want to just let you know about how this process works is that first we want to actually connect Defender for Cloud and Sentinel. And the way we're going to do that is to start off this process. First of all, we need to have in Microsoft Sentinel, we need to have a log analytics workspace that Sentinel is based on. So you can either create a new one directly from Sentinel, or you can actually use a pre-existing log analytics workspace that you've already created. And you can see that I have this one here that I'm using. And now that we're using it, what we need to do now in order to connect Defender for Cloud with Sentinel is we need to actually go into our data connectors, and we need to find Microsoft Defender for Cloud. So we need to find this connector. So this is it here. And if we open the connector page, it's super easy. It's just literally making sure that the configuration here is connected. So you can see making sure that this is on and that we have the bidirectional sync of alerts from both Defender for Cloud and Sentinel switched on. So that's it. Now we have the connection created between Defender for Cloud and Sentinel. So next up, what we want to do in terms of AMA, in terms of the Azure Monitor agent, is we want to go into Microsoft Defender for Cloud, and we actually want to go and make sure that the AMA, the Azure Monitor agent, is enabled, configured onto all of our machines, onto all of our virtual machines, or also our Azure Arc machines as well, because it also is covered for those. So the way that we can get this agent to be auto-provisioned on all of these machines is through the environment settings that we have in Defender for Cloud. And we're going to go in and find our subscription. And then here in the subscription, we're going to go into settings and monitoring. And from here, it's very simple. This is where you can configure lots of components where they can be auto provisioned. And the one that we're interested here is either Log Analytics agent or the Azure Monitoring agent. We need to make sure that that's on first of all. And then how do we know which of the two we're configuring? Well, that's by clicking Edit Configuration here. And here, we just need to make sure that we have, because we're talking about the Azure Monitor agent, and we want to get that agent to be enabled on all of your existing virtual machines and also all of your new virtual machines. So make sure that that is selected, and then that we have a custom workspace selected. And this is, notice this is actually the same workspace that I showed you earlier in Sentinel. And the main point here is that you can't use a default workspace with Sentinel. It actually, if you want to have the connection between Defender for Cloud and Sentinel, you have to use a custom workspace, so a workspace that you have created. So once we've actually done that and applied it, now the AMA agent will actually be enabled on all of your virtual machines, and then it will basically gather data which will be used by Defender for Cloud and then also used by Sentinel. So now that we've talked about the agent being deployed, we need to talk about what kinds of data is actually also going to be gathered. And we talked and I showed you in the slides about this concept called data collection rules, DCRs, and these are associated with the AMA, and basically the way that you need to set up the DCRs to determine what data gets collected, you actually need to, so the way that you need to set up these DCRs so that that all of this data can actually then be investigated in Sentinel is through the, it needs to be done from Sentinel, and it needs to be done in this data connector that we have here. So I've just opened up this new page, this data connector, and it's called Windows Security Events via AMA. We actually open up this connector page. So it's important to know that this is where you need to create the data collection rules so that Sentinel can get that information. That comes from the AMA agent. And you can see here in the configuration, we have this one data collection rule that I've already created, and you can create, as many data collection rules as you want. But let's just go into this one that I have in here. And just to talk you through this process. So here you can see you just need to set up some very basic information. You give your data collection rule a name and the subscription and resource group associated with it. And then here is where you can basically pick a set of machines to collect the data from. So this is where you're determining which machines you need to actually target that have the AMA agent, and if they don't have the AMA agent for some reason, though they will because of the auto provisioning, this will actually add the AMA agent in there also. But you can determine which virtual machines you want to have there, and then you can add more virtual machines from here. And yeah, like I said, these are virtual machines in Azure, but also Arc virtual machines. Choose any of them. And then the next thing is which types of data do you actually want to get from these machines. So you can select all security events, common, minimal, and custom. Custom is the interesting one because that lets you define what data you want to gather. So, and it's very powerful, and it's done through an XPath query, and you can actually get the XPath query from here, from this page. So this is the other, could somebody just put this in the chat window? So this is the other link that I shared. Extract XPath queries that you can use. So for example, you can use, these are some example ones: collect all critical error warning and information events from the system event log, except for this specific event ID. So just, copy that and then put it in here. And then you're able to add this in. And then last but not least, then you just need to review and create it. And that's basically it. Now, once we press connect, now we're going to get these event log information from these virtual machines, and they're going to go into the log analytics workspace that we have associated with Sentinel, which is the one that I showed you at the start. So that is the overall process for connecting Microsoft Defender for Cloud, the data from Microsoft Defender for Cloud using the AMA agent, and sending it over into Microsoft Sentinel. And now from here, you are then able to go and investigate this data further in Sentinel, and Benji will actually show you how you can do that. So I will stop sharing my screen, and Benji, you can take over.
Yeah, thank you, Liana. So when you have the AMA agent and you actually thinking, okay, but how I know which event IDs I actually need inside of the Sentinel, you can actually come to our Content Hub, which is our solutions repository, where you can find many different solutions, currently to 239 and growing. You can find solutions not only first party, but also third party, like Cisco, Umbrella, Palo Alto, etc. In this case, we'll be searching for security events. And here we'll be able to see that we have 20 different analytic rules that are focusing on security events. We have 43 hunting queries and 2 of the workbooks. So we can deploy actually this solution inside of our environment and check inside of the analytic rules and hunting queries which event IDs we need actually, so that we can utilize those analytic rules and hunting queries, or you can inside of the analytics go to rule templates and filter based on those specific features. So I can say like if data source is my, it is still a legacy, but it is going to the same. So just say none here, and let's choose our Windows security events via AMA, apply, and it will show us all of the analytic rules that are utilizing the AMA. When selecting it, inside we'll be getting the information. So what event IDs are looking. So here we can see that we need for this specific analytic rule event ID 8003, 8002, 8005. So we'll need to write that DCR rule to collect this so that we can actually detect it. So instead of going and ingesting all security events, we can specify what analytic rules we want, get event IDs and ingest only those event IDs. Bear in mind that if you are utilizing the UEBA, etc., that you will need some specific event IDs like sign-in, user sign-ins, like 4624, 4625, etc. So that is some of them that you can utilize. Now we will go back and switch to incident investigation and just go and see how you can utilize incidents created by Microsoft Defender for Cloud and incidents created by Microsoft Defender, Microsoft Sentinel, and to utilize both of them utilizing actual SOAR, Microsoft Sentinel SOAR. So as Liana mentioned, SOAR is security orchestration, automation, and response. And while most people see it as automation, it is not only automation, it is including actually incident management, investigation, automation, and even reporting capabilities. So inside of the Microsoft Sentinel, when we want to investigate incidents, we are actually starting from the Incidents tab. Inside of the incidents, we will be able to see all the incidents that are active, new and active inside of our organization by default. And it will look for the last 24 hours. So here we will be able to see a couple of incidents that we will be investigating, and we can see the product names. So one of them is Microsoft Defender for Cloud, and I have 3 detections using the analytic rules inside of the Microsoft Sentinel. When we are using the prioritization inside of the Microsoft Sentinel, what actual incident I should be investigating, it is mostly like you are looking, okay, what incident is actually have higher severity by the products, by the entities that are included, or if we see something like ransomware that is making the panic inside of each of the organization, because we all know how ransomware can impact all of our data. So in this case, we have lucky ransomware was prevented, and we can see that it actually came from Microsoft Defender for Cloud. And it is synchronized from the Microsoft Defender for Cloud. So as soon as Microsoft Defender for Cloud detect this alert, it is synchronized to Microsoft Sentinel utilizing Microsoft Security Incident Creation Rule for Microsoft Defender for Cloud, and it is creating incident inside of the Sentinel. And from here, we can actually go and see some of the summary of the incident. But if we want to do actual investigation, we will need to go to the few details. And we will have this incident overview page that will contain a lot of useful information for us, like the timeline, because we can have up to 150 alerts inside of one Sentinel incident. So the timeline will be important to see how it was actually happening. We will be able to see also separated alerts and bookmarks, but also the entities that are detected. So we can see that here we have the host, we have the malware, and we have also file hashes that are connected to that malware and how it is detected. And we have also similar incidents. Similar incidents is really powerful tool that we introduced inside of the incident investigation, and it is providing us with additional information about incidents that happened inside of our organization, and that is somehow connected to the incident that we are investigating. So here we can see that it is connected because it has similar entities. And in this case, a similar entity is our host. And what we can do from here is actually even open this incident so that we can see all the information about this incident. And we can see that there are already 2 comments on this. So what I had created before is some initial investigation that will be done for me to save me some time. So automation rule is firing 2 playbooks. That is telling me, okay, the information from the virus total about the IP address from where this suspicious sign-in was detected. And I can see that it is marked as malicious, but also from where. So I have geotagging telling me from where it is actually happening. And this can be also important information because, for example, we can say that my organization is located here in Ireland, and I actually don't have anybody who is in Netherlands and shouldn't be logging from Netherlands. So this can be additional indication for me. And the great thing is that we can move through the whole investigation. And if I want to go back now to the incidents where I started, I need to use the top menu, click on the incidents, and it will lead me back to my view. So what I can do now is go and investigate actually the incident itself, and it will open me the investigation graph. Inside of investigation graph, I can actually go and search like, okay, based on this host, I want to see all related alerts that happened. And we will be able to see here multiple related alerts. we can see also two different type of lines. Here we have full lines and dotted lines. Full lines means these are entities and hosts and alerts that are connected to incident that I'm investigating. Dotted lines means those are additional alerts that we have inside of our organization, but they are not part of the incident that I'm investigating. So what I can do is go and say, okay, I have that suspicious sign-in, and if I go and check for the related entities, I will see the user, and also I will see the IP that was detected, and it is on the same actual host. So I also see here that there was a suspicious RDP activity, and I will see that it is the same entities happening again, and I will see here also RDP port scanning, again, the same users, the same IP, the same machine. So what I can actually do from here, say, okay, it is actually related to the same incident, and I want to add this alert to the incident. And I will be closing the other incident because this is the only incident inside of it. So system will actually do that in the background, and now we can see that dotted line is changed to the full line. That is telling us, okay, now this is part of our incidents, and I will do this for all three of these connected incidents that I'm investigating. So now they are part of my incident investigation, and if we go back now to the incidents, and if we go to timeline and refresh our incidents, we will see some changes. So first of all, now we can see all the alerts that I added here inside of this incident, so that we can follow the path in the timeline that I mentioned. So what was first that happened and how it went through the system. But also it is adding the entities as well. So it added the user, it added the IP address together with the host, so that we have everything connected together. So let's go back to our investigation, and we can see that again, it is still saving what I was doing, so that I don't need to repeat it. And we can see here the IP address. So what we can actually do from this IP address is added to TI. So Microsoft Sentinel has threat intelligence blade and threat intelligence indicators table, where we are adding all the TI information. So if I see like, okay, this is malicious, and I want to get like alerts and compare it with the hunting, when I'm doing the hunting, I want to add it to my TI. It will automatically give you the option to fill in the data for that TI and valid from, I will say today, and apply. So now this TI will be actually added inside of our threat intelligence indicator, so that we can do the hunting for the rest of the data inside of the org. And what else we can do actually is, okay, is go back to our incidents, and okay, we can see now this is probably true positive now because I have suspicious RDP activity, suspicious sign-in, IP address that is malicious, and ransomware on that machine. So I want to respond on this. So way to respond is using our automation. So you can run playbook on incident, and when you click on actions, run a playbook, you will actually get a list of the playbooks that you can utilize, but also you will get options to make favorites from your playbooks. And what I can do actually is go and say, okay, this Palo Alto, I'm using actually Palo Alto in my environment, and I want to block this IP inside of this Palo Alto environment. So I will click run for it. I also using Azure Firewall, and I want to block this IP on the Azure Firewall from that perspective. And I'm using Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, and I want to add this as an indicator to Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. So if somebody is outside of the firewall reach, that they are still protected. Now I can confirm Azure AD user risky, but because I'm global admin here, I will not do that, just not to break the presentation itself. but we can actually block the user, reset the Azure AD password, etc. So we can act on the user, but we can also act on the alert itself. So if we want to isolate, for example, the machine itself, and we want to do it through the alert, we can click on view playbooks on the alert and find our playbook. In that case, it will be to isolate Azure VM to NSG. So actually, it will add a new NSG rule on this VM in Azure that will block all access, and it will restart the machine actually. And here we can see the runs that were happening. In this case, it will have also the approval so that I can approve, do I want to isolate it or not? So I can click approve so that it adds actually that machine inside of it. And once when we done the containment, now we need to go and eradicate all the data from this machine. And once when we finish that part, we document what we have done inside of the comment so that everybody knows what we have performed here. So if there is some similar incidents later on, person who returns, see this closed, will be able to see what we have done. So add the comment what you have performed. And what we actually can do as well is then close the incident, mark it as true positive, and write the comment how we and why we closed it. So when somebody goes to similar incidents, they will see that it was closed and it's true positive. So it will give them information that you can go and investigate. So this is how you can perform the investigation. Now we are going to Julio, who will be speaking more about how you can accelerate incident response by enriching the incidents and alerts, and how you can actually make better prioritization during the incident investigation.
Thank you, Benjamin. Great demo, really great demo. So let me go ahead and share my screen. So we're talking about incidents, right? So what about incident management and response, right? One common challenge when it comes down to incident response is what we call alert fatigue, right? So if you start getting tens, hundreds of incidents on a daily basis, working all those incidents can create a huge workload for the SAC team, right? For the individual security analyst. So when an incident gets raised, the very first thing that happens is the initial triage. Usually SOC analyst at tier 1 will look at the incident, will prioritize the incident based on severity, and will also do some minor, initial investigation to identify if the incident is a false negative, a true positive, meaning like escalator next level. So the triaging phase is really important because obviously that's where everything gets decided for further advanced investigation, just like Benjamin showed in the previous demo, right? Now, so how can we improve such a process? How can we accelerate and make the triaging incident a little bit more effective, right? More efficient, right? So one way to do is leveraging Defender for Cloud. Defender for Cloud is the perfect companion, basically the perfect partner for Sentinel in this case, but not only, even for third-party SIEMs product, just like the one we have. Defender for Cloud is a CNAPP product, and it's capable to provide true insights, security insight, as well as workload protections, just as Liana described early during the presentation. So what about if we can leverage all the data that Defender for Cloud has produced when he assessed those resources? What about, the alerts being generated through the workload protection? So if we get those informations, then we can push those information within the Sentinel incident and provide those additional comments, which will leverage, will allow the actual analysts, security analysts, to proactively make rapid decisions. Now, how do you do that? Well, basically, we can leverage a couple of things such as the continuous export. Well, most likely, we will leverage the Sentinel capability of executing automated logic apps, which are also called playbook. Basically, we leverage Sentinel SOAR properties. Now, in Defender for Cloud, we assess our resources, Azure resources and multi-cloud resources, actually. And also, we are able to provide what we call attack path. Attack path are a way of contextualize the vulnerabilities, the security vulnerabilities of each resource within the context of the ecosystem around it. Okay, so now what about if those information will fall right into Sentinel? Again, we built a couple of logic apps, and then I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about. So I'm going to jump on the demo. So here I have a Defender for Cloud, and I have the alert view opened. Several alerts were raised by Defender for Cloud. Some are old, some are new. I have one was raised last night, and one was raised right this morning. It's all about, like, actually here, one was raised last night, and one was raised this morning. All right. So anyway, those alerts are also propagated in a form of incident within the actual Sentinel, because we have now a connector that leverage the alert flowing into Sentinel and turn into an incident. We see those alerts in a form of incident right onto Sentinel. However, those incidents right now are also being automated by the logic apps. What I'm trying to say is the two logic apps have, or two playbooks have executed in the background and have added additional information into the incident. The very first thing that the playbook has added are the tags. Now, the analyst can see, number one, the severity, which will define easily if the priority will be higher versus the other. Then the second thing is going to look at it is, okay, this resource has unhealthy recommendation. Also, this resource has vulnerabilities. So that can actually will give you a really quick decision point to make those two incidents a higher priority. The other thing that you can easily say is go into the comments. Actually, let me open up this. You go to comments, and now you have two comments. First comment is about the path, the attack path that I just mentioned. So looks like the VM, which generated basically the alert or the incident due to a password spray or brute force, is also being exposed through three different paths, attack path. One is defined by the fact that it is exposed on the internet with a public IP, but also because the application stack or the operating system also expose RCE vulnerability, remote execution code. Besides that, the actual VM is configured with the system identity and MSI, which is basically also configured with a role to access the key vault. Therefore, you have three possible instances of moving laterally through your environment, but simply getting access to this VM, you can then access the key vault, grab the key vault secrets, and then access other things such as a SQL database, a storage account, so on and so forth. So that's already a great part of information that says, okay, let me look in this VM and let me look at this incident. The second thing is, okay, this VM has several unhealthy recommendations due to security misconfiguration that needs to be remediated. So you have at least all the, the security recommendation that you can really take a look at it and remediate in order to hurt the actual resource. On the also, you got the information about how many vulnerability were found. In this case, there were total 2 vulnerability that were discovered on this machine. One is actually labeled severity high and the other one severity low. In the end, you can also look all this information by just clicking on the link below, on top here, which will then take you to the actual resource health. And then through the resource health, you can now navigate to the information and make a proper decision. Perhaps I just want to go ahead and look on the unhealthy one. I can select the filter, and then here I am. Those are all the recommendations listed as unhealthy, just the same as they are listed over here. Also, you can look on the alerts that were related to the same um, VM from the actual Defender for Cloud. And you can also look the asset, the software asset, right? What software has been discovered on this VM. And then based on the software or the single operating system, you can see how many vulnerabilities that were also found. Now, those are known vulnerabilities, but also they're categorized into micro vulnerability. That's why you have a total of 2. Okay, they're basically under each one you have an handful numbers of CVEs. That's why they're like 276. Additionally, if you really want to explore the those paths where the actual machine or the resource is a component of, all you have to do is just go back into your Defender for Cloud under recommendation. Then you can easily look at those 3 paths. Again, there were 3 paths over here, and then you can see 1, 2, and 3 paths, and you can click on the path itself. Let's say this one is Internet Exposed VM, has high vulnerabilities and read permissions to Key Vault. And if you expand the graph picture, you can easily see now how this path is laid out. You also, you have the public IP that will allow the intruder to get access into this VM, which because it has a 3 unhealthy configuration, because it also has vulnerable RCE exploitable exploitations, then they can run code and emulate the system identity. This system identity over here, with the system identity, you can access to the key vault by leveraging the secrets that are stored in here. Okay, if you click on the actual machine in here, in this case, you can also have a multiple insights and the recommendation again, and you look at the inside, and you can also look at the resource with high severity, and you can click the CVE, and we'll take on the CVE, so on and so forth. So with this, I have done with my demo, and then basically on behalf of Benjamin, myself, and Liana, I would like to thank you for listening, and I want to give you time for your question.
Yes, we have lots of questions in the chat here. Seeing if there's any unanswered ones. Looks like everyone has answered all of the questions. Are there any more questions? I can see if any more come in. Okay, well, I think that we have answered all of the questions, and since I don't see any more coming. Yes, this video, for everyone asking, this video will be available on YouTube today, and it will be available at aka.ms/security-community in the recording section. Let's see. Any other questions? We do have a question coming in that says, why am I getting the error this setting requires MDI when trying to turn on UEBA for a tenant?
Because UABA requires Microsoft Defender for Identity so that it can synchronize the users from Microsoft Defender for Identity to Identity Info Table.
And we have another question coming in. Can you manually add entities to an incident and then run playbooks on them?
Not for now.
And are all the playbooks shown available in the templates library?
The best way is to go to the Content Hub under Solutions, as we are migrating everything to the Content Hub so that it is easier to find based on the solution itself. So if you need the playbook for the Palo Alto, for example, you will search for Palo Alto solution and deploy it from there.
Thank you. We have another question here about this. Can the slides be downloaded? Yes, the slides can be downloaded at that same site, aka.ms/security community in the recording section. And the next question is, when files from Defender for Cloud are shared with Sentinel, how long can those files be stored in for future download? I'll say that one more time.
Files are not shared from Microsoft Defender for Cloud with Sentinel. Only the alert data that is written inside of the log analytics as a security alert. Those data are stored in Sentinel as long as you have the retention configured. So by default, it is 90 days for free. After 90 days, you can configure either log analytics retention that is up to 2 years, or you can configure a data archive that is up to 7 years.
And the next question, do playbooks come as canned options such as downloads available in GitHub?
Well, most the playbook that we present are part of our GitHub repo. But besides our own GitHub repo, there are also several like community GitHubs out there, and every playbook or workbook are pretty much considered open source kind of stuff, so they can be easily shared. They're basically JSON file and then modified later on.
And for the GitHub ones, I've actually just pasted the link there in the chat. So these are the workbooks that we have that are found for Microsoft Defender for Cloud that are on GitHub. But as Julia said, we do have a few that are also in the product itself in the workbook section.
Thank you. And the next question, can you see the impact when a playbook is run on an alert? One or more entities impacted?
Sorry, can you repeat?
Can you see the impact when a playbook is run on an alert?
You can see the impact, so you can always put that you can add a comment based on the previous action that was run on the playbook, so you can like actually see the impact inside of the comments, or go to the playbook and see the playbook run and check the status.
Thank you. And we have one last question here. Is Microsoft Sentinel able to find threats without having an individual reporting an incident?
That's why we have detections that you write, and then those detections are run every specific time period that you configure, and it will detect it automatically, so there is no need for manual. So you just manually need to create a detection. Everything else will be done manually, automatically, sorry.
Okay, thank you. And we have answered all of the questions today. So thank you to Liana, Julio, and Benjamin for being our guests today and for an excellent presentation. And thank you to the rest of the team who helped answer all of the questions. Once again, I would like to remind the listeners that the best way to ensure you don't miss any future webinars or major announcements is to visit our landing page at aka.ms/security community. And while there, you'll find easy ways to navigate and find the resources and learning content relevant to our security products and their communities. A good start would be browsing our bite-sized product videos, ninja trainings, recordings of past webinars, GitHub communities, and more. We'd love to hear your feedback on how we can improve these webinars. Please take a minute to submit your feedback at aka.ms/securityfeedback. Thank you, and see you next time. Goodbye.
Thank you so much, everyone, and thank you, Ashley, for hosting us.